What's going on with ya, big dogs? And today we're going to be talking about the best Master Duel decks post the new pack, guys. What is the new pack's name? I keep forgetting. Absolutely insane, guys. But whatever it is, let's go ahead and jump on in. Today we have so many new decks here. Decks that we need to talk about that came or got stronger because of the ban list. And also there are Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that are coming out in the new set. I think one of the biggest things that we have to talk about that isn't necessarily spoken about between these strategies is the new Fiendsmith Lacrima for you guys. The level 4 Fiendsmith monster that actually makes so many combos, it's ridiculous. I'll be keeping that in mind when I'm talking about these particular strategies and how they are shaping the landscape. Let's go ahead and talk about Branded. And one of the biggest things that I want to talk about with Master Duel is that there's a few differences between the TCG, OCG, and Master Duel. And one of them is that 300-second timer. I think that it's really important that we take into consideration that 300-second timer. And I will be using that or taking into consideration that with this list. I think that Branded is still, I think it's good enough to steal some W's. We're going to be ranking these strategies on how easy it is to get these particular decks to masters. And I don't think nothing really changes for Branded. It's obviously really good against a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh strategies. It has game-winning cards, but overall, it doesn't have that factor anymore. And it's going to take a very good player, but also does give you opportunities to just win, which is resolving Branded Fusion. I think the same thing for Melodius. Melodius isn't really a great deck, right? I think that Melodius is really good at being a solid strategy that people mix engines in with, but not necessarily a great strategy on its own. It does have some really cool cards and some strong things going for it, and that's why I think it's a little bit better than takes a really good pilot, because a good pilot plus this deck does get you enough wins. Blue Eyes, this may be one of the most controversial takes that you guys would say. I think Blue Eyes is a Masters Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Now, this is completely contrary to what I've said in the TCG. In the TCG, which is the actual cards, Blue Eyes is not a top 5 deck. And people are throwing hands with me. They're literally going crazy. Somebody said, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We're still labbing Blue Eyes." Brother, come on now. Come on. Come on. It's a 23-year-old deck. Come on, dog. How long are you going to be in a lab, dog? How long? How long, brother? Get it together. So the biggest reason why I think that Blue Eyes is one of the strongest decks in Master Duel, easily, Maxi, literally Maxi, and no one plays Nibiru. It's like crazy. Like, those two factors are the most important factors. I think once players start playing Nibiru, this becomes one of those solid option decks. But the biggest reason is because this deck can set up enough interruptions under Maxi and the Charmy cards. And it also, no one is playing Nibiru, so no one is getting punished for full comboing with Blue Eyes. Two of the most ridiculous things that this deck gets checked by, doesn't get checked by in Master Duel. There's also players not playing Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which is really, really good against this deck. So a lot of the counters for this deck are not being played, and that's why it's so good right now. Next is Unchained. I think Unchained with the new cards, oh man, I think its only big problem is that Maxi, legitimately, Maxi might be the only problem for this Yu-Gi-Oh strategy. And then there's time, right? So I'm going to put it in good enough to steal W's. I think it's good enough to be a solid option, right? Unchained Fiendsmith or Unchained Magical Musketeer Fiendsmith is very, very powerful. But the problem is the timer and also the Maxi. So it's definitely in between both of these. It's a really good deck that can break almost any board in the game. It's incredible at going first and second, and it plays through a ton of hand traps. They're saying my bias is showing, so I can't put it in solid option. I'm going to put it in good enough to steal W's. And I think that's everything. I think that's what we all can consider. Exodia, the Millennium strategy, I'm going to put this on takes a good pilot. You saw that, right? All Mysterio, they all checked me like, "Yo, you're coping." Like, bro, I do think that it's good. Lacrima makes this deck so much better. You guys don't even know it. But you guys did say the timer, and I have to agree with the timer. But I think Exodia takes a really good pilot. You think it's 4th rate? Isn't Secret Village is still in Master Duel, right? No, it's not. Secret Village isn't in Master Duel. This is a stun deck, chat. What pilot is there for Exodia? Knowing what floodgates to draw? That's why I like, takes a really good pilot doesn't necessarily accentuate the deck, you know, the actual deck skill, but it's definitely not good enough to steal W's, and it's definitely not 4th rate duelist, and it can't be higher than those two. So I think below good enough to steal W's, because good players are just going to wax you, and better than 4th rate duelists. Like, if you guys see the decks that I put in 4th rate duelists, you're going to be like, all right, Cali, I understand. That's why it's above that, right? If you can't play Unchained and still have a healthy timer, the deck ain't for you. Oh, yo, Smoke is shooting shots. Bro, I'm sorry. Not everybody has the repertoire to lab Unchained combos for their entire life, dog. This deck's hard to play. I don't care who you are. This deck takes time, right? Let's OTK deck designs as a stun deck. It really is. It really is. Dark Magician. So, like, again, we put Dark Magician in 4th rate duelist because obviously you can clearly see the distinguishing properties, right? Dark Magician is not a good deck. I'm sorry, guys. Exodia is also not a good deck, but Exodia has way better support than Dark Magician. You know what I mean? It's just a better deck. So now you see the contrast, right? I still think that Snake Eyes is one of the best decks in the game. Bro, Primite DM is goated. Yeah, you're coping. You're straight coping. You're straight coping. DM is cool, but it gets carried by Azamina and Primite, then you probably should be playing Azamina or Primite, right? It's not that you can't top with these decks, right? But the cards that you guys are saying that makes this deck so strong can be used in other strategies to make them better. You know what I mean? Snake Eyes is still one of the best decks in the game. We might see a little bit more Snake Eyes Fire King because of Kieran coming off the list, and we also might see the same Millennium BS, but regardless of whatever Snake Eyes it is, I think it's one of the easiest or strongest decks to take to Masters. I would put Chimera in. It takes a really good pilot. And the only reason why I would put it in to takes a really good pilot over 4th rate duelist, because I do think that it's here, is simply because it just has better cards. But the problem with Chimera is that there's nothing about this deck that something like Snake Eyes can't do better, right? You want to hand loop your opponent? Well, Snake Eyes does that better when they activate hand traps, right? You want to play Azamina, or Fiendsmith? Unfortunately, Snake Eyes does that better, right? There's almost no particular aspect where Chimera does something that other Fiendsmith Azamina decks don't do better, and it's really annoying. I think that Labyrinth is going to be good enough to steal W's. I think it's a solid Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It's not necessarily too bad, not really that great, but if you know how to play the deck, it does reward you. And then, of course, it does have those unfair cards, right? I mean, Chimera has a hand rip? Yes. So does Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, ironically, has the exact same hand rip. Your opponent activates Ash, you continue to keep playing because you always have the perfect hand with this deck. It's that dang consistent, right? Chimera can lose to 1 Ash. Oh, yeah, you can also get hand looped, right? So I hate this argument so much. Why win sneakers when you can wear boots, basically? No, it's not necessarily the same thing, GB Smokey. So obviously you wear those two things for 2 different reasons, right? There's no reason to play this deck over, where's that deck? There's almost no reason. And I think this is a solid, there's like no reason. There's legitimately no reason. This deck loses to the timer. This deck loses to the timer. This deck makes stronger boards. This deck can play this deck's cards. So like, there's no reason not to play the, what's the name? Now, hypothetically, in terms of strength, this deck would probably be like right here or right here, but it's so redundant, it's like, why even play it? So, is what it is, right? They both lose the draw. Exactly. Like, there's no one thing that I can think of, and maybe you guys got to let me know down below in the comment section, but there's no one thing that I can think of that this deck has over any other deck. And I've been saying this for a few months. I want to say maybe like 5 or 6 months in the TCG, and not a single soul, Chimera players that back this deck up religiously, has said anything that actually sticks. And I'm going to stick to that, right? I love Chimera, but it's just, oh, and it's, J-Works is right. This deck is hard as heck to play. Add Live Twin, now we up after this pack. Unfortunately, Boot, that was supposed to be 11 minutes ago, big dog. Like, you a little late. We said we had until 3:30. Unfortunately, I do appreciate the sub, and welcome to the Super Shadow Realm again for 2 months, though. Maybe we'll do something else. Chimera, where would I put Live Twin? I would still put Live Twin at 4th rate Duelist, by the way. Like, unless the new Live Twin cards came out, Chimera and Live Twin are pretty much in the same spot, except Chimera has more recent cards, which are better. Right? Mid-range combo, Chimera can't keep up with combo version, is just worse. Momento is better than Chimera at being Chimera. You're 100% correct. And I still personally think that Momento is solid option / Masters. The only thing that keeps this deck from being Masters, in my opinion, is that this is probably the hardest deck I've ever played in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it requires, it has so many bad cards that you have to make feel good. And you have to find a way to win every single time with some of the weirdest cards. There are lines that I don't even see. And then after the game, you guys are like, oh, well, you could have done this. And I'm like, oh, you're right. But definitely solid option. Magical Musketeer. Yeah, no. Magical Musketeer Fiendsmith was a dream that we had, guys. I don't think it's good enough. It's not good at all, Chad. It's not there. I think that Voiceless Voice is good enough to steal W's. It's really interesting because I'm not sure. Actually, it might be here, and I'm not a really a huge Voiceless Voice player, so you guys might have to help me correct all of that. But I think that this deck is simple enough to be played in every single format. It's like, so if Exodia is your brainless stun deck, this is like your brainless mid-range deck, right? This deck doesn't require a huge brain to play, and it does win just off of using card effects, and it's incredibly hard to hand trap. So I agree. I think solid option is there. This changes when players wake up and play Ogre more. Oh, they'll never play Ogre, just like how Nibiru doesn't exist, right? I will put Heroes, and it takes a really good pilot. Even with the new support, if I'm going to be so honest with you guys, I can't wait to see you guys. Voiceless Voices Modern Sword Soul. That's kind of accurate. I can't wait to see you guys with the new Evil Hero replays and stuff like that. But the deck's trash. Like, all of the new hero cards are just more bricks to play in the deck. It doesn't add more consistency. It doesn't really add any more power. It just gives you evil hero cards. And the evil hero cards are not terrible, but you'll see. You guys will see. I like that Evil Assault in the Doom Prison. There's combos with that. But if Doom Prison was a warrior, we'd be talking about something else. Unfortunately, it's like a rock or a fiend or something. Tenpai Dragon. I think that Tenpai Dragon is good enough to steal W's simply because it's like a nerfed version of, well, I wouldn't say Voiceless Voice, but it's a very simple deck to play, and you just OTK your opponent. You follow the simple combo lines, very good for players getting into the game. You follow this game plan, you win or you lose. There's no in between, right? Tenpai is good unless the player doesn't know how to read. That could be it too. We've seen some Tenpai players goofy goobert on that, right? If you lose to Tenpai, you got sacked, and that's why it's like, it's so, yeah, it's even crazy. I would say Mathmech is also one of those decks that's good enough to steal W's. To be honest, these two decks are kind of similar. This deck just sets up a crazy ass board, and they're just like, yo, I win, right? It's almost like if you were trying to learn how to break boards, play Tenpai, and if you were trying to play, like, learn how to make boards, play Mathmech. Solid deck. I think that Centurion is actually really good. Now, this might be a bold take, and you guys might be going crazy on me, but I think that this deck is crazy. Plays around with Charmies, plays around Maxi. It does some of the things that Blue Eyes wants to do. It's pretty versatile, right? I think it's solid, right? I wouldn't say that I would say it's closer to here. Good enough to steal W's to solid option than here to here. But I would put it in solid option. Pearly with the new cards, I don't care what you guys say. I think this deck's good. I would put it in 100% solid option. option. It's one of the better decks in the game. I think it requires a little bit more skill to play, but I think it's going to be really solid, especially with the ban list getting some new cards, right? Yeah, they got unhits. Rescue-Ace got unhits, but I think it's here. I don't think that the cards coming out for Rescue-Ace win. And what's really crazy about Rescue-Ace, and back me up here, guys, if you stop Turbulence, you win. Like the moment you guys just start focusing on stopping Turbulence, like the deck doesn't really, like it's like a worse Snake Eyes deck. And when you play the Snake Eyes cards, you probably should be playing Snake Eyes something else. Yeah, so like, I don't know, man. I think if you stop Turbulence, you just pretty much win. Yeah, Rescue-Ace has 4 spell and trap cards and a trench coat. It's actually crazy. Now look, I don't care what you guys say, right? I don't care what you guys say. Boom, right there. Right there, guys. Right there. Right there, chat. Right? I don't care. I'm standing 10 toes. I'm standing 11 toes if I got them, dog. All 11 toes. Right there. Right there. Right there. Right there. Slow down. Let them cope. Unfollowed. Fire cope as always. Brody. Brody. Oh, Mysterio. No, you can't leave. That's the hill you go die on. And I'm not talking about Fire King Snake Eyes. I'm talking about pure Fire King. Pure. 3 Kieran, 3 problems. That's all I'm saying, guys. That's what I'm saying. Now, I will let you guys know. Yo, thank you so much for the follow, big dog. I will let you guys know. Post how much cope it is, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much am I coping? Pure Fire King. Pure. I'll give you Steel W's? What? What? The best deck that's going to be playing Rescue-Ace cards when the support comes is going to be Rescue-Ace. It's Yugioh. That's crazy. 25, 0, 3, 69, 12, 10, 10. I don't think it's that much cope. I do think it's better than White 4. Okay. Okay. You do know that Diabello's at 3 and original Sinful Spoils is legal? I'm not even playing it. Don't care. Not playing it. Okay, what if I put it here? What if I put it here, right? If my cope is still White 4, bro, this deck beats Maxi and the Charmies. I think any deck that beats Maxi and the Charmies literally has like a really, really strong chance. I genuinely think, I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely think it's here, right? I genuinely do. So I'm gonna leave it there. I think that this deck, what I mean here, I'm gonna leave it here. I think that this deck is incredible when you have the correct things going. I'm trying my best not to cope here, but this deck is absolutely insane. When like you get it going and it starts going and it does its things, it's insane. It's almost impossible to beat. One of the best things I think that it has for it is dominance cards, but the biggest reason why I want to put it here instead of here is consistency. That's literally it. It's consistency. Sometimes you'll draw the perfect hand, and then other times you'll draw Ash, Imperm, the other Garunics you don't want, the Garunics you do want with no fire monsters. Like you'll get some really, really bad hands, and that's the big thing. That's why I will put it there. I think Stun is definitely takes a good pilot, and hear me out, guys. Hear me out. Because, like, secretly, both of these decks, like, by name, should be good enough to still W's. But I think that a skilled player playing these decks beats these decks 10 times out of 10, right? So here's the thing. There are Pokemon players that are coming into Master Duel trying to prove a point that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is easier by taking Stun to Masters, right? This is what I need you guys to do. I need you guys to clock them and send them back to the Shadow Realm. That's all I need you guys to do. I need you guys to send them back to the Abyss. All right? Because I want you to show them that it's trash, right? You must be a good pilot to flip fossils at it. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's not necessarily takes a good pilot, but I wouldn't put it here, but it is stronger than 4 free duelers. If you are a person that's playing these decks, I would urge you to get off of them because they're not going to get you far enough, right? You're gonna just like how you frustrate people playing stun, you're gonna start to realize that, hey, against good players, it's not gonna work. Sarcophagus, not a good deck. Mermail. I think Mermail, because hypothetically, we don't have Mullen Glacia banned, right? Yeah, this deck's crazy strong. If we get the Poseidra monster, this deck is crazy. It does not care. Like, it doesn't care about what board you make. It literally does not care. This deck can break boards. I've seen it break full-powered Ryzeal boards, so there's almost no doubt it can break full-powered Snake Eyes boards, right? And I'm not a huge Mermail guy, but I think that this deck is going to be really, really crazy, right? Goaty, unfortunately, I think Goaty is Goaty in the Abyss. No, I genuinely think, no. It's not me coping. I genuinely think that this deck wins. And since you guys don't play Droll, this deck almost has no counters. There's no correct hand trap against this deck. You can max E and they can still beat you if they're going second. Like, they don't care. Like, it's really hard to deal with this deck when somebody's on with this deck. Sword Soul, definitely Forfrey Duelist, right? I love how the Pokemon players trying to show the game bad, but you can do the same thing as well playing stacks in Magic. Yeah. Adamantipator, I don't think this deck's really good. I think Block Dragon is crazy good. But other than that, the deck kind of falls apart. I think Yubel is good enough to steal W's. I don't think it's a solid option anymore. I think the consistency hits are really starting to drag down on Yubel. So, and there's quite a few cards that, like, really, really suck to go against. The new Argo Stars monsters, guys, don't try them. Well, I mean, try them, obviously. I need a video. I need to see you guys playing them, right? I'm going to hype them up. But no, these cards suck. These cards suck. These cards suck bad. They'll get stronger over time, but they suck. I'm thinking that their arc may be like Memento, right? Kashtira. This is actually the good stun deck, but I think Kashtira is good enough to 10W because you literally went off of strength from time to time. What crate consistency hits? Nightmare Throne's at 2, correct, GB? Nightmare Throne's at 2. Aren't no stars. Ain't no way Metal Flame Swordsman's on this list. That's not Metal Flame Swordsman, right? Yeah, Cash feels like a bad deck, but when you get it to work, you just win. So it's definitely good enough to steal W's. Yeah, Throne at 2. Bro, like, it's those small hits, chat. Like a lot of people may want to fight me on this one, right? But it's those small hits that actually do matter, chat. When you guys got branded Fusion from 3 to 1, a lot of people said it didn't matter. Then it started to matter, right? Then, like, other things started to happen and they started to matter. Okay, maybe it's here at best. So, actually, yeah, I would put it here. I would put it here as opposed to here. But those hits really start to matter. When you go from a 33% chance of opening a card to a 22%, and now that other card that you want to have with it, the card that you like to have with it, messes with that math too, you start to feel it. Like, I didn't believe in semi-limits until I started to play under semi-limits, and I'm like, yo, this actually matters. I hit how many Kashtira players have absolutely no brain. Playing Blue Eyes Primite and he hits True Light off of Ogre. Does he banish the True Light? No, he banishes Drill Beam. I won the game next turn. Crazy. Yeah. We have Dragon Link. I don't think this deck's worth playing. I genuinely don't. Goblin Biker, I also don't think this deck's worth playing. These two decks are just not strong enough, right? They're not terrible, but they're not strong enough in my opinion. And lastly, we have Flame Swordsman. I would put Flame Swordsman in 4-for-8 deck. It'd be nice to see it, but unfortunately, even a hand trap heavy version of Flame Swordsman, your one card combo needs to go off because if you get hand trapped, you're in a very bad situation. But that's what I have for the best decks in Master Duel post the new pack. No Fiendsmith Control. I think Fiendsmith Control, if we're talking about the Primite Fiendsmith, probably in solid option, to be honest. But of course, you guys, I know you guys are obviously going to have a lot to say about this tier list. Some people are going to say it's complete dog water. Other people are going to say it's the second coming of Jesus. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say And I just wanted to point out that I will be back editing videos on Master Duel Cali. So I apologize that you guys haven't been receiving your daily dose of Master Duel Cali, but we're going to try to get to 4 videos a week. Unfortunately, both of my editors, they are, they get busy. It's life. It happens. Hopefully they'll come back and I ain't got to do it. But until then, I'll be back. Thank you guys so much for watching.